So good afternoon or good morning when you might wake up. But today we will be talking about lesson one, the concepts, nature, and purposes of curriculum. So curriculum is a very important repertoire of a teacher. So and this means that it should be studied well, it should be understood well, because there are many definitions of what exactly is a curriculum and how curriculum should be developed. So let's start. The curriculum from different points of view, traditional points of view of curriculum. The early years of 20th century, the traditional concept held of the curriculum is that it is a body of subjects or subject matter prepared by the teachers for the students to learn. It was synonymous to the course study and syllabus. So, in this traditional point of view of curriculum, it is the uh, subjects that compromise a course or a study. That's what curriculum is. Next, we have Robert and Hutchins, who views the curriculum as permanent studies where the rules of grammar, reading, rhetoric, and logic, and mathematics for basic education are emphasized. So when we say permanent studies, this can mean a lot of things. It could mean that because learning just doesn't stop even after you finish school, and these subjects, grammar, reading, rhetoric, can be used outside of school. You are continuously learning. It's a permanent study because you keep using it even after you finish. Also, that's an interpretation of what permanent studies is. Next, we have Arthur Bestor, an essentialist, believes that the mission of the school should be intellectual training. Hence, curriculum should focus on the fundamental disciplines of grammar, literature, and writing. It should also include mathematics, science, history, and foreign language. So for this, Arthur Bestor thinks the curriculum should be comprised of subjects that are intellectually stimulating. So makagamit ka sa mga utak. So like grammar, literature, and writing. And this also includes mathematics, science, history, and foreign language. Next, Joseph Schwab said that discipline is the sole source of curriculum. Most of the traditional ideas view curriculum as written documents or a plan of actions in accomplishing goals of martial series of steps, plan of action. That's what curriculum is all about. Next, we have that was traditional points of view of curriculum. Now we have progressive points of view of curriculum. So broadly speaking, curriculum is defined as the total learning experiences of the individual. This definition is anchored in John Dewey's definition of experience and observation. He believed that reflective thinking is a means that unifies curricular elements, though thought is not derived from action but tested by application. So in these progressive points of view of the curriculum, mas more broad na siya because total learning experience of the individual, and this can be seen in reflective thinking, where you will look deep into yourself and see what you have learned and what has changed and how you became a better person for it. You reflective ka kung saan mo pang learn ba, so that it can bring about change, or it can bring about better knowledge that you have acquired na, or new information from old information sa mga inam. So Caswell and Campbell viewed curriculum as all experienced children have under the guidance of teachers. So para something like hidden curriculum, which is something that's not officially in the curriculum guide, but was still taught whether intentionally or unintentional by all experiences. And Marsh and Wills, on the other hand, view curriculum as all the experiences in the classroom, which are planned and enacted by the teacher and also learned by the student. So this time, ang plano ng mga subjects. Muna ang part sa curriculum. Wala nang unintentional kung mga baka na naaral yung plano sa teachers na sa curriculum guide. That's what curriculum is all about. All those things learned there. So we have models. First, we have Ralph Taylor model for basic principles, also known as Taylor's rationale. He posited four fundamental questions or principles in examining any curriculum in schools. These four fundamental principles are as follows. What education purposes should a school seek to attain? So what's the purpose of teaching these students these subjects? So the curriculum guide should answer that, or the curriculum should answer that. What education experiences can be provided that are likely to attain these purposes? So unsa ang mga experiences that can help attain those goals said earlier? How can these educational experiences be effectively organized? So unsa ni mo na siya pag-implement? Then how can we determine whether these purposes are being attained or not? So dini ang evaluation, matanaw if the educational goals were met or not, where are the strengths and the weaknesses of the students. So we have another model here, build a Taba linear model. She believed that the teachers who teach or implement the curriculum should participate in developing it. Her advocacy is called the grassroots approach, representing 7 major steps to her model where teachers could have a major input. So para ni Hilda, when making a curriculum, the teachers should have a say in it. Kaya sila man ang tigtudlo. So they should have an input on how the curriculum is shaped up. So that's why it's called grassroots. Okay, dili man na siya like at the bottom, like talagang most involved. So that's why it's called grassroots approach. So ang siya steps, diagnosing of learners' needs and expectations of larger society, formulation of learning objectives, selection of learning content, organization of learning content, selection of learning experiences, organization of learning activities, and final determination of what to evaluate and means of doing it. So, even though naay differences ang Ralph's model and Hilda's model, there are also many similarities. Kay nag-search lang kung unsa ang kailangan na ma-attain sa students, how they will implement it, unsa ang mga activities needed na maka-achieve sila ang mga students sa learning objectives, and how to evaluate if they've met the objectives or not. So 3 interacting processes in curriculum development are planning. So the plan kung unsa ang curriculum, unsa ang learning objectives needed to be met, how do you implement these, implementing na saan ninyo pag-organize siya na ma-attain dito nila na effective ang inyong process, and finally evaluating how do you know that these students achieve the learning objectives as stated. So all of these are needed to be planned, to be thought of if you want your curriculum to be effective. So that's all for now. That's my part of the report. So I hope you learned something, and the report will continue on with the next report. Thank you.
Hi, I am J. Carl Antonia Forque, a BPED student. So I am going to report the types of curriculum operating in schools. So first, we have recommended curriculum. Second is written curriculum. Third is taught curriculum. Fourth is supported curriculum. Fifth is assessed curriculum. Then the second to the last is learned curriculum, and lastly is hidden curriculum. So first, we have to tackle first the recommended curriculum. So the curriculum may come from a national agencies like the Department of Education, Commission on Higher Education or CHED, Department of Science and Technology, which is the DOST, or any professional organization who has stake in education. So, recommended curriculum, these are the formulated by the Department of Education. So, Commission on Higher Education, Department of Science and Technology, or any agencies that are connected to the field of education, curriculum are present in every school and universities, and it is there to lead and guide them in order to have an orderly manner of education practices within the schools and the universities. So that is the recommended curriculum all about? So second is we have written curriculum. This includes documents, course of studies and syllabus or syllabi handed down to schools, districts, divisions, departments, or colleges for implementation. Another example is the written lesson plan for each classroom teacher. So written curriculum, these are the documents, course of the study, or syllabus handed down to school, district, divisions, departments, or colleges to be implemented by school. And lesson plans are prepared by the teachers or are another example of the subject matter. So written curriculum is a crucial when it comes in operating the schools because it enables the student and teachers to be guided in instructed as to what must be done. So that is written curriculum. So second is the third one is thought curriculum. So the different planned activities which are put into actions in the classroom compose the thought curriculum. These are varied activities that are implemented. So thought curriculum, these are the planned or formulated activities that are to be performed inside the classroom. Such activities are most likely team building, self-discovery, brainstorming, basically anything that establishes camaraderie or harmony between students in the classroom. So allowing them to be functional and progressive in the process of doing it. So that is the thought curriculum. So the fourth curriculum is supported curriculum. This includes material resources such as textbooks, computers, audiovisual materials, laboratory equipment, playgrounds, zoos, and other facilities. So it should enable learners to achieve real lifelong learners. So supported curriculum, materials, resources, namely textbooks, computers, audiovisual materials, laboratory equipments, playgrounds, zoos, and any other activities that constitutes a lifelong learners for the students. So this will be endured by them for their entire life. So as it constantly changes as they grow old, lifelong learners does not stay on one particular form of learning. It changes over time. So that is supported curriculum. So the fifth one is assessed curriculum. So this refers to the tested or evaluated curriculum. So this refers to the tested or evaluated curriculum in the sense that each and every curriculum formulated must be evaluated in order to achieve fineness, harmony, and concise with its detailed. So, muna siya ang assessed curriculum. So the sixth one is learned curriculum. This refers to the learner outcomes achieved by the students. Learning outcomes are indicated by the results of the test and change in behavior. So learned curriculum is the outcomes achieved by the students in the field of learning. So the results of the exam and test along with the change in their behavior for the better, students can learn much more as they grow old. So for their minds tend to seek out new informations and knowledge in order to attain further understanding and changing their behavioral aspects for an even and better state. So that is learned curriculum. So the last one or the seventh one is hidden curriculum. So this is the unintended curriculum which is not deliberately planned but may modify behavior or influence learning outcomes. So this is somehow cognitive as it is not planned or formulated properly. So however, it does work its part in influencing the students in their behavioral aspects in learning outcomes. So those are the types of curriculum operating in school. So let us move on to the foundation of curriculum. So these are the philosophies in education. So first we have education philosophy, which is the perennialism. So the aim of education in perennialism is to educate the rational person to further escalate and cultivate the intellectual capacity of each and every rational individuals and all. So that is the aim of education in perennialism. So the role of education here is the teachers are assist and support student to think critically with reason and understanding. So that is the role of education in perennialism. So ang focus sa perennialism is classical subjects, literary analysis and curriculum is constant. It cannot be altered nor can it be curved. So that is the focus. Muna siya focus sa perennialism in education. So curriculum trends using great books as sources to study and understand the liberal arts. So that's it. So perennialism, this is the belief that focus of education should be ideas that have lasted over centuries. So that is perennialism. Second philosophy in education, we have essentialism. So the aim of education here is to promote the intellectual growth of students and educating competent individuals. So role of education, the teachers has the sole authority in their field of profession and subject. Focus in the curriculum, essential skills of the 3 R's are properly observed along with the essential subject of English, science, mathematics, history, and foreign language. The curriculum trends excellence in education is important to achieve that is by starting from basics and taking in the cultural literacy that goes with it. So essentialism is an educational philosophy whose adherents believes of that children should learn the traditional basic subjects thoroughly. So that is essentialism, the philosophy in education or the educational philosophy. So the third one, we have progressivism. progressivism. So, the aim of education here is promoting the democratic and social life of the student, so or the person. So that is the aim. Then the role of education here is we have gaining knowledge leads to growth and developing lifelong learning by actively doing it. Focus in curriculum, the subjects are interdisciplinary, integrative, and interactive. The curriculum trends, school reforms are relevant as it is contextualized curriculum and upholding humanistic education. So progressivism, the philosophy in education or educational philosophy in progressivism is the belief that education must be based on the principle that humans are social animals who learn best in real life activities with other people. Next is we have, or the last one is we have reconstructivism. So the aim here is to improve, reconstruct education in society to make room for changes. So it seek changes or reconstruction for education. So role of education here, teachers to act as agents of change and reforming various educational projects. So this is the teachers are reforming changes for various educational projects. So focus in the education, focus in the curriculum, focus on present and future trends, including issues, national and international interest. So curriculum trends here is pursuing equality in educational opportunities and access towards a global state of education. So that is the curriculum trend. So reconstructivism is not only aim to educate a generation of problem solvers, but uh, they also try but also try to identify and correct many noteworthy social problems that face our our nation. So with diverse targets, including racism, pollution, homelessness, poverty, and violence. So that is all about uh, the foundation of curriculum. So that is the end of my report. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Adonis G. Baisus, and I will talk about historical foundations of curriculum and psychological foundations of education. First, let's talk about Franklin Babbitt. Babbitt presented curriculum as a science that emphasizes on students' need. He believes that curriculum prepares students for adult life. Next, Merit Charters. Like Babbitt, Charter's curriculum is a science. Objectives and matching these with corresponding activities ensures that the content or subject matter is related to objectives. William Kilpatrick. Curricula are purposeful activities, and he believes that it is child-centered. The purpose of curriculum for him is child development and growth. Harold Rock. To Rock, curriculum should be developed the whole child, and Ragg also believed curriculum is also child-centered. Hollis Caswell. Caswell sees curriculum as organized around social functions of teams, organized knowledge, and learners' interests. To Caswell, he believes that curriculum is a set of experiences. Ralph Tyler is one of the hallmarks of curriculum. He believes that curriculum is a science and an extension of school's philosophy. It is based on students' needs and interests. Next, let's talk about psychological foundations of education. First, behaviorist psychology. So what is behaviorist psychology? Behaviorist psychology, or the behavioral psychology, is a theory is a theory of learning which state all behaviors are learned through interaction with the environment, through a process called conditioning. Thus, behavior is simply a response to an environmental stimuli. Behavioral psychology dominated the 20th century psychology. To the behaviorist, learning should be organized in order the students can experience success of mastering the subject matter. The method is introduced in a step-by-step manner with proper sequencing of tasks, which is viewed by other educational psychologists as simplistic and mechanical among the behaviorists. Robert Gagne, Robert Gagne's hierarchical learning or sets of behavior and five learning outcomes become classic. Next, cognitive psychology. Cognitive psychology. These psychologists focus their attention on how individuals process information and how they monitor and manage thinking. Cognitive psychology involves the study of internal mental process, all of the things that go inside your brain, including perception, thinking, memory, attention, language, problem solving, and learning. To the cognitive theorists, learning constitutes a logical method for organizing and interpreting learning. Learning is rooted in the tradition of subject matter and is similar to cognitive development theory. And for the last part, the humanistic psychology. Humanistic, humanistic psychology is a perspective that emphasizes looking at the whole individual and stresses concepts such as free will, self-efficacy, and self-actualization. Rather than rather than concentrating on dysfunction, humanistic psychology strives to the people to fulfill their full potential and maximize their well-being. So, humanist psychologists are concerned with how learners can develop their full human potential. Among the humanistic psychologists, curriculum is concerned with the process, not the products, personal needs, not the subject matter, psychological meaning, and environment.
Good day, classmate, and good day, Doc Carlo. So, I'm Mary Joy Baises, and my topic is all about foundation of curriculum. Under this, we have lesson 2, components of curriculum and curricula approaches. We have also component 1, curriculum aims, goals, and objectives. So, is built on Gestalt psychology, where learning can be explained in terms of the wholeness of the problem, and where the environment is changing and the learner is continuously recognizing his or her perceptions. So, Gestalt psychology is a school of thoughts that will look at the human mind and behavior as a whole when trying to make sense of the world around us. So, Gestalt psychology suggests that we do not simply focus on very small components, but instead our mind tend to perceive a objects as part of a greater whole and as element of a more complex system. So, and this school of psychology played a major role in the modern development of the study of human sensation and perception. So, in number 4, we have social foundation of education. Societal culture affects and shapes schools and curricula. So, we agree that society affects and shapes school and curricula because there we can get a negative and some negative effects from the society, which affects the shapes of the school and their curricula. So, in considering that social foundation of curriculum, we must recognize that schools are the only one of the many institutions educate a society. So, we agree that school is the only institution that educate the society because we as human, we are living in a society and we are educated from school, wherein it is called that school is the only institution that educate society. So, the relationship of curriculum and society is mutual and encompassing. The curricula should reflect and preserve the culture of society and its inspiration. Yes, because we believe and we agreed that curriculum and society has a mutual encompassing because school educate people, and what and as school educate people and people are living in a society. So kung unsay naa sa society, like what is the behavior in a society, what is the culture in a society, those things are being taught in the school. That is why it has a mutual relationship. So, the society should also imbibe the changes brought by the formal institution called the school. So, when we say imbibe, it means to take in and process something mentally, such as ideas and experiences. So, in school, we learned a lot. We explored things. We learned. We develop our mental. We develop our personal. We experience something new. And those experiences, when we go to the society, we use it, those experiences, and we apply those things when we are in a society. So it is a process brought by the formal institution, which we call it schools. So lesson 2, components of curriculum and curricular approaches by Purita P. Bilbao. Elements, components of curriculum, major components or elements. So we have aims, goals, and objectives. subject matter content, learning experiences, and evaluation approaches. So, in this, aims, goals, and objectives, muni siya ang kung unsa imong ganahang itudlo or unsa imong ganahang masabtan sa imong learners, imong objectives, kung unsa imong target nga itudlo sa imong learners. Muni siya ang aims, goals, and objectives. Subject matters or content kanang pasabot ani niya is kung unsay sulod sa imuhang lesson, kung unsa kabahin ang imuhang i-discuss sa imong learners. Learning experiences is they explore during learning process. So learners are exploring during learning process. Evaluation is dira na nimo sukdon kung unsay nakatunan sa imuhang mga learners. That's why it called evaluation. So component 1, curriculum, aims, goals, and objectives. So the Philippine educational system is divided in 3 educational level. We have primary, secondary, and tertiary. So based on the Philippines Constitution of 1978 rather, all schools shall aims to inculcate patriotism and nationalism. So these values is taught in the school. They teach us how to be patriot in our country, how to love, or how to be nationalism, foster love of humanity, promote respect for human rights, appreciate the role of national heroes in the historical development of the country, teach the rights and duties of the citizenship, strengthen ethical and spiritual values, develop moral character and personal discipline. So we have GMRC, who taught moral character and personal discipline. Encourage critical and creative thinking. It develops our cognitive skills, broaden specific and technological knowledge, and promote vocational efficiency. So aims of elementary education: provide knowledge, develop skills, attitudes, values essential to personal development and necessary for living in, contributing to developing and changing society. Provide learning to increase the child's awareness of and responsive to the changes in the society. Promote intensify knowledge, identification with, and love for the nation and the people to which he belongs. Promote works, experiences to which develop orientation to the world of work and the learner to engage in honest and grateful work. So, in elementary education, mauni siya nga part ang very crucial because the learners is still developing. They develop their skills. They are knowing their attitudes, learning essential values kay it is very important ang ma-emphasize ni siya ning mga values is very essential. Why? Because in elementary education, the learners still developing in a developing process. So kung unsa ilahang makatunan, makaingon na sila nga, example, if sayop muna ilang makatunan dito sayop, so kana nga example values nakatun silang mga sayop nga attitude, so madala na nila. Why we call it very crucial stage kay kuan man good, teacher is the most essential tools nga maka-guide sa mga elementary student nga maka-learn og good values, ma-develop ilang skills so that when they reach in the secondary level, they are prepared na mo compete or mo compete sa secondary education. So let's go to the secondary education. So in secondary education, it aims continue to promote objectives of elementary education, discover and enhance the different for productive endeavor, and to prepare them for the tertiary schooling. So sa secondary, kung unsa to ilang nakatunan sa elementary, gi-continue ra develop sa secondary to prepare them when they reach a tertiary level. So tertiary level aims provide general education programs which will national identity, cultural consciousness, moral integrity, and spiritual vigor, train the nation's manpower in the skills required for the national development, develop the professions that will provide leadership for the nation, improving the quality of human life, and responding effectively to the changing society. So, example is ako and all the college student, we are trained so that we can we are trained to be a better student so that when we graduate we can comply the needs of our country, which is the manpower skills. Like mao naman gud ni siya nga stage nga after schooling ay mamulong kag trabaho. So when you find a work, you are kanang imong kita kag trabaho, so na-comply nimo ang needs sa atoang nation, which is the manpower skill. So example, kulag teacher. So when you graduate, when you pass the board exam, when you apply in the DepEd or CHED, so you are the one nga nihatag sa imong skills nga ma-provide ang manpower needs sa atoang country. So develop professions that will provide leadership for the nation, improving the quality of human life, responding effectively to a changing society. We know that our society is changing rapidly, no? Paspas ka and changing sa atong society. Mutaas jud ang mga demand sa manpower. So ang school always producing students, good quality of students nga maka-provide sa manpower skills nga needs sa ato ang nation para ma-build atong nation and to develop our nation into a better nation. Okay. So the school mission statement spells out its vision. The mission targets to produce the kind of person that the student will become after having been educated over a certain time. So, muna ni akong gipasabot nga there is 3 levels: elementary, secondary, and tertiary. So, in this level, we are developed. So, we are developed to become an educated person to target the needs of our nation. So, example of school mission is to produce globally competitive lifelong learners. So, education is a lifelong process. So, we are a lifelong learners because we believe that kung buhi pa ta, our learning is continuously developing. We did not stop learning It doesn't mean nga, okay, graduate na ko college, so akong learning is mo stop na dira kay graduate na ko. No. When you're still alive, there is a lifelong process, lifelong experiences, lifelong learning. So next we have commits to the total development of individuals for the life adjustment and to the upliftment of the economically deprived but deserving student through quality instruction, facilities, and curricula responsive to the needs of time. So the school vision and mission are further translated into goals, which are broad statement or intents to be accomplished. So we know that sa every school nagud siya mission and vision. So muna siya gitarget nga goals so that muna siya gitarget nga goals sa every school nga maka-build of strong foundation of skill and concept, efficient and effective administration responsive of the needs of the university and community. So, kanang vision and mission is very essential sa mga school para ma-target nila ilang goals. Kay without this, murag wala kay kuan, wala kay tumong, 'di ba? So, vision and mission nihatag siya tumong sa school kung unsay maayong buhaton sa ato ang university to guide the learners. Okay, so thank you and God bless, and this is the end of my report. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. This is Jean Francie Balanay, and I am the next reporter. And I will be going to further discuss about the component 1, which is the curriculum aims, goals, and objectives. So when we say aims, goals, and objectives, it talks about the target or the desired result of a certain school institution. So the Philippine educational system is divided into 3 educational levels. These are primary, secondary, and tertiary. So based on the Philippine Constitution of 1978, all schools shall aim to, first, inculcate patriotism and nationalism. So when we say patriotism, it talks about pagkamakabayan or shows loyalty in our country, or we show a healthy pride in our country that brings about feelings of loyalty and a desire to help other citizens. So when we also talks about nationalism, it's about the belief that your country or our country is superior. So next is foster love of humanity. So it talks about helping one another and you show sympathy and empathy. Number 3 is promote respect for human rights. So it's about respecting our different beliefs and culture and more. Number 4, appreciate the role of national heroes in the historical development of the country. So here, it also talks about showing love and respect in these heroes like Dr. Jose Rizal, Lapu-Lapu, and more, since they are the one who help our country to be free, diba? So next is number 5, teach the rights and duties of citizenship. So it is about the right to life and liberty, and we respect national flag and national anthem. Just like every time na ay nag-flag ceremony or nag-flag retreat. So as a citizen pod, we have to put our hands in our heart and mutindog ta and then mo atubang ta sa atong flag, wherein it also shows respect. And one of our duty as a Filipino here in our country. So number 6 is strengthen ethical and spiritual values. So here, like musimbata, wherein it shows faith and trust in God. Next, number 7, develop moral character and personal discipline. Number 8, encourage critical and creative thinking, wherein we practice in thinking wisely or comprehensively in a certain situation or a lesson. Number 9, broaden specific and technological knowledge and promote vocational efficiency. So, for example, today, in the 21st century, it is necessary for us to be computer literate or know how to use technology, since it is part of the teaching and learning process as well as in the real life situations practically. So now let's proceed with the aims of elementary education. So here, it provides knowledge and develop skills, attitudes, values essential to personal development and necessary for living in and contributing to a developing and changing society. So here, we are practicing, or we encourage learners that fosters their skills, na ilang values, ilang attitudes to have an effective and sufficient way in imparting knowledge, as well as they will bring it in the outside of the school, wherein mo na siya importante, no? Because as what they have learned inside the school, they will also it is also needed to perform it or to bring it outside the school. So next is provide learning which increase the child's awareness of and responsive to the changes in the society. So we realize and make them think of what actually happening in our world and instill their minds to be part of society's development. Next is promote and intensify knowledge, identification with, and love for the nation and the people to which he or she belongs. So here, when we say intensify, it's about increase, or we increase their ability to show and express love and respect to the people around them, including their family, ilang friends, and more. So next is promote work experiences to which develop orientation to the world of work and the learner to engage in honest and gainful work. Like for example, mga field trip or experiment, and something that they can truly understand the world of work, wherein they can realize things practically, no? Because for me, based on what I have observed and what I have learned as a student, no, if we put the students in a field trip or experiments wherein they will practically know, or they will practically perform a certain thing, mas mabala nila, or they will acquire a certain lesson or a certain information or idea na ani ni siya mahitabo, ani day ni siya, which is magamit jud nila sa ilang kinabuhi. So now, next, let's proceed with the aims of secondary education. So here, first, it continued to promote the objectives of elementary education. Why? Because here, mas gi-improve or gi-develop para ma-attain ang high knowledge or education sa secondary level. So next is discover and enhance the different for productive endeavor and or to prepare them for tertiary schooling. So mo to siya, diri nga part pod, they will be prepared or showing an effort of being prepared, like the learners will become productive, produces or does a hard work for something na ilaang na ihatag sa teacher or something na that is needed for them to do. Now let's proceed with the tertiary education. So here it provides general education programs which will national identity, cultural consciousness, moral integrity, and spiritual vigor. So here, this part is the higher level of education, as well as their thinking skills when it comes to kaning national identity, wherein it talks about the essentialized notions of being. Then when we say cultural consciousness, it talks about the process of developing awareness of culture in the self, which can result in expanding, understanding, and developing deeper knowledge about their individuals and context in school. So when we say next, moral integrity, it's about when you are doing the right thing when no one is watching. No, because we know what is right and wrong, and because of that we still choose to do the right thing. So muna siya ang moral integrity po. Then spiritual vigor. So when we say spiritual vigor, it's about the relationship between the souls of a person, the souls or mind of a person. Next, train the nation's manpower in the skills required for national development. So here, get trained, no, in their chosen field, wherein they develop another form of skills that is significant in each of our lives, no. Okay, diba? If we choose a certain course or a certain major, we have to be trained in that chosen field or in that chosen area, because in that way, no, we are able or we are capable of acquiring a knowledge or an experience wherein it can develop ourselves na magamit na to for the near future and the future. The next, develop the professions that will provide leadership for the nation, improving the quality of life and respond effectively to changing society. No? For example, kani as an education student, no, we have practice teaching wherein we are sent in the field which is in a certain school, no, dito i-send ta sa lain-laing school, no. So here we are trying to be better and we develop a higher skills as much as possible that can contribute in our students and society generally. So next, the school's mission statement spells out its vision. So the mission targets to produce the kind of persons that the students will become after having been educated over a certain of time. So here, the school's mission statement is about the aim or the desired result, no, in the school institution, as what I have said earlier. So examples of school's mission is first, to produce globally competitive lifelong learners. No, that is one of the example of school's mission, and I agree with that, because for me as a Nursunian, no, we already memorized the VMGO or the seated VMQP and all. There are also words that are familiar, no, na nagamit pod and is very significant for each student in that university or in that school to know or to be memorized. So number 2, commits to the total development of individuals for life adjustment and to the upliftment of the economically deprived but deserving students through quality instructions, facilities, and curricula responsive to the need of the time. So, naapo na siya dito sa mission pod sa Negros Oriental State University, which is, I undoubtedly agree. And I am also motivated for that mission sa usa ka school. So here, proceed ta sa the school's vision and mission are further translated daw into goals which are broad statements or intents to be accomplished. For example of school goals are: first, build a strong foundation of skills and concepts. Number 2, efficient and effective administrative responsive of the needs of the university and community. So that would be the end of my part, or the end of my report. So thank you so much. And Benson JR, your turn.
So good evening everyone. By the way, my name is Benson J.R. Hazeler and I am tasked to report the curriculum, concepts, nature, and purpose. So in a curriculum, these goals are made simple and specific for the attainment of each learner. These are called educational objectives. So when we say educational objectives, these are the learning outcomes or statements that are clearly describe what the learner will know or be able to do as a result of having attended an educational program or activity. So Benjamin Bloom and Robert Major define educational objectives in two ways: explicit formulations of the ways in which students are expected to be changed by the educative process, and the second one is intent communicated by a statement describing proposed change in the learners. So Benjamin Bloom and his associates classified three big domains of objectives. These are cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains. So let's talk about first the cognitive domain, which is the domain of thought process. So cognitive domain involves knowledge and the development of intellectual skills. This includes the recall or recognition of specific facts, procedural patterns, procedural patterns, and concepts that serve in the development of an intellectual abilities and skills. So cognitive domain has 6 parts. So these are the knowledge, the comprehension, the application, the analysis, the synthesis, and last is the evaluation. So knowledge is all about recalling data or information. So examples, a student can recite a policy, quote prices from a memory to a customer. So the second one is the comprehension. So comprehension means understand the meaning, translation, or interpolation and interpretation of instructions and problem. So the best example for this is state a problem in one's own words. So the third one is the application. It is the use of concept in a new situation or unprompted use of an abstraction. It applies what was learned in the classroom into novel situations in the workplace. So the fourth one is the analysis. So analysis separates material or concepts into component parts so that its organizational structure may be understood. It also distinguishes between facts and inferences. The fifth one is the synthesis. So it builds a structure or a pattern from diverse elements. So put parts together to form a whole with emphasis on creating a new meaning or structure. The last one is the evaluations. So evaluations is the one that make judgments about the value of ideas or materials. The next domain is the affective domain. So this is the domain of valuing, attitude, and appreciation. So in affective domain, this includes the manner in which we deal with things emotionally, such as feelings, values, appreciation, enthusiasms, motivation, and attitude. So affective domain have 5 major categories that are listed from the simplest behavior to the complex. So the first one is receiving. So receiving is about awareness or willingness to hear a selected attention. The second one is the responding. This is the active participation on the part of the learner, attends and reacts to a particular phenomenon. Learning outcomes may emphasize compliance in responding, willingness to respond, or satisfaction in responding, or in motivation. So the best example in this second category is to participate. A student participates in class discussion, gives a presentation, questions new ideas, concepts, and then know the safety rules and then practices them. So the third one is the valuing. So when we say valuing, this is the worth or value of a person attaches to a particular object or a phenomenon or behavior. So the last one is the characterization. So characterization is the last category of the affective domain. So the last part of Bloom's taxonomy is the psychomotor domain. So this is the domain of the use of psychomotor abilities. So when we say psychomotor domain, this includes the physical movement, the coordination, and the use of motor skill areas. Development of these skills requires practice and is measured in terms of speed, precision, distance, procedures, or techniques in execution. So psychomotor domain has 7 major categories. The first one is the perception. The perception is about the ability to use sensory cues to guide motor activities. This ranges from sensory simulation through cue selection to translation. The second one is the set. The set is the readiness to act. It includes mental, physical, and emotional sets. These 3 sets are dispositions that predetermine a person's response to different situations. It is sometimes called the mindsets. The third one is the guided response. The early stages in learning a complex skill that includes imitation and trial and error. Adequacy of performance is achieved by practicing. So the fourth one is the mechanism. So this is the intermediate stage in learning a complex skill that includes imitation, trial, and error. So learned responses have become habitual and movements can be performed with some confidence and proficiency. The fifth one is the complex overt responses. So the skillful performance of motor acts that involve complex movement patterns. So proficiency is indicated by a quick, accurate, and highly coordinated performance requiring a minimum of energy. So this category includes performing without hesitation and automatic performance. So let's say, for example, players are often utter sounds of satisfactions or expletives as soon as they hit a tennis ball or throw a football. So the sixth one is the adaptation. So when we say adaptation, these are the skills that are well developed and the individual can modify movement patterns to fit special requirements. The last one is the origination. So when we say origination, it is creating new movement patterns to fit a particular situations or specific problem. So learning outcomes emphasizes creativity based upon highly developed skills. So what is the purpose of the curriculum? So the purpose of the curriculum is to provide teachers with an outline for what should be taught in classrooms. So in short, they serve as a guide on what the teacher should be taught and what kind of subject she should taught in his or her subjects. So it also serves as a guide wherein teachers will follow what he or she should do after his or her class. So the second one is, what is the nature of the curriculum? So the term curriculum stands for the totality of planned learning experiences offered to students in a school. So thus, curriculum means the total situation selected and organized by the institution and made available to the teacher to operate and translate the ultimate aim of education into reality. So the nature and the purpose of curriculum is both gives a big impact towards the teachers. So knowing this impact, the teacher will follow and then do what she must do, just like teaching, and think what he or she should be taught in school. So that's all my report. Thank you everyone for listening and God bless.
Good day everyone, this is Gwen Kalindi Bernales and now let's move to the next topic, which is the component 2, curriculum content or subject matter. All curricula have content of design or models. Content is more than simply information to be learned in school. To some curriculum specialists, content or subject matter is another term for knowledge, and it is a compendium of facts, concepts, generalization, principles, and theories. According to Jerome Bruner, knowledge is a model we construct to give meaning and structure to regularities in experience. So it means that design or model content is found in all courses such as College of Teacher Education, College of Engineering and Architecture, College of Law, College of Nursing, Pharmacy and Allied Health Sciences, College of Industrial Technology, College of Criminal Justice Education, College of Business Administration, College of Arts and Sciences, and College of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries, and so on. The term content refers to more than just the knowledge that students study in school. So mo na itong mga gipang studyhan. Content is a collection of facts, generalizations of concepts, principles, and theories. Jerome Bruner defines knowledge as a model that we develop to give meaning and structure to our experiences. So now let's move to examples of broad subject areas in basic or general education. First, we have communication. Arts include skills in listening, speaking, reading, and writing, as well as the effective use of language in daily living. It is important to recognize connections between what we hear, read, and write. Journalism, such as community journalism, digital journalism, and photojournalism. Visual communication designs such as graphic, print, digital publishing, and web design. Interactive animation, motion graphics, and writing such as creative writing, writing for publication, writing for the media, promotions writing are examples of communication arts. It is intended for people who want to work in media, advertising, public relations, and other related professions. It looks at how different media outlets can convey information using both verbal and non-verbal messages. Communication arts boost our ability to convey our thoughts and emotions to others, while also strengthening our critical thinking skills. Next, we have mathematics. It includes numeric and computational skills, geometry and measurement, algebra, logic and reasoning, and mathematics aids in the understanding of how things work, on the development of wisdom, the improvement of intuitive speed in children, and when mathematics is applied as a career, money can be made. It is critical in a rapidly changing world since it makes the child smarter and allows them to interact with the outside world. Next, we have science. It includes all branches of the natural sciences, exploration and discovery, dealing with natural phenomena, and the use of scientific method of investigation. So one of the most essential sources of information is science. It improves our fundamental knowledge, develops new technologies, imagines new applications, provide a platform for sharing ideas, and offers us a better perspective on the world. Science provides practical solutions to everyday problems and aids us in unraveling the universe's biggest mysteries. Next, we have social studies. It includes basic elements of geography, history, sociology, economics, civics, political science, and psychology. It provides us students with a better grasp of the real world. And through this, we can learn about places, cultures, and events around the world, as well as the forces that shape them, to draw conclusions about how the rest of the world operates. Next, we have music. It includes basic music story, practice in listening, singing, playing musical instruments, and music preparation. Music has varied degrees of characters that might alter one's mood, and it has the ability to raise someone's mood, get them excited, or make them calm and relax. Music has the ability to bring people together in a variety of ways, makes us more expressive, and to help us better comprehend our moods and emotions. Music also has the ability to reduce stress, discomfort, difficulty, and distraction, while also bringing happiness and peace into our daily lives. Next, we have physical education. It includes health and physical fitness, individual and team sports, spectatorship, and wise use of leisure. So, Physical education promotes healthy habits and pro-social conduct, as well as reduces stress, promotes good sleep, and aids concentration. It enhances our physical condition, keeps us disciplined and active, and teaches us on how to operate in a team and puts our decision makings to the test. Next, we have vocational education. It includes psychomotor and manipulative skills in basic crafts and trades, design, work ethics, and appreciation of manual productive work. Vocational education enables us to obtain skills and experience that are directly related to our future career. It helps us in the better performance of our jobs, as well as they acquire great learning experience and offer better employment opportunities. Now, here are some criteria which can be utilized in the selection of subject matter, content, or knowledge from the curriculum. First, we have self-sufficiency. According to Sheffer, 1970, the prime guiding principle of content selection is helping the learners to attain maximum self-sufficiency in learning, but in the most economical manner. So, although the economy of learning implies less teaching, effort, and less use of educational resources, students gain more result. They can cope up with the learning outcomes effectively. Students should be given the chance to experiment, observe, and do field study, since this allows them to learn independently. There should be a one-day independent learning activity each week for a school curriculum or preparatory year. So when the students return, they should present outputs from the activity. Next is significance. When content or subject matter will contribute to basic ideas, concepts, principles, and generalization to achieve the overall aim of the curriculum, then it is significant. Subject matter or content is significant if it develops learning activities, skills, processes, and attitudes. It also develops the three domains of learning and considers the learner's cultural aspects. Particularly if your students came from different cultural backgrounds and races, the subject matter must be culture sensitive. So in short, select content or subject matter that can achieve or the overall aim of the curriculum. Next is validity. The authenticity of the subject matter selected is its validity. So subject matter should be checked or verified at regular intervals to determine if the content that was originally valid continues to be. So the term validity relates to the truthfulness of the subject matter or information you chose. Make sure that the topics aren't out of date. So for example, do not include typewriting as a skill to be learned by college students. It should be about the computer or information technology or IT. Next is interest. For learner-centered curriculum, this is the key criterion. A learner will value the content if it is meaningful to him or her. So, students learn best if the subject matter is interesting, thus makes it meaningful to them. So, this criterion is valid to the learner-centered curriculum. However, if the curriculum is subject-centered, teachers have no choice but to finish the pacing schedule religiously and only teach what is in the book. Next is utility. Usefulness of the content or subject matter may be relative to the learner who is going to use it. Usefulness may be either be for the present or future. So students think that a subject matter or some subjects are not necessary to them. So as a result, they do not study. Another criterion is the usefulness of the content or subject matter. They view it as useless, and students may often ask, will I need to subject in my job, or will it give meaning to my life, or will it develop my potentials, or will it solve my problem, or will it be part of the test, or will I have a passing mark if I learn it? Students only value the subject matter if it is useful to them and will help them to develop their potentials. Next, we have learnability. Subject matter in the curriculum should be within the range of the experiences of the learners. This clearly suggested by the psychological foundations of a curriculum. So, the subject matter or content must be within the schema of the learners. It should be within their experiences, and teachers should apply theories in the psychology of learning to know how subjects are presented, sequenced, and organized to maximize students' learning capacity. Next, we have feasibility. Content selection should be considered within the context of the existing reality in school, in society, and government. So, students must learn within the allowable time and the use of resources available. Do not give them a topic that is impossible to finish. Feasibility means the full implementation of the subject matter. It should consider the school's real situation, the government, and the society in general. So for example, you only have 1 week to finish the lesson. So, well, the children may need a month to complete the exercises. As a result, this requirement is unattainable. So, here are the other considerations that may be used in the selection of the learning content. As a guide, subject matter or content can be selected for use if these are A. Frequently and commonly used in daily life, suited to maturity levels and abilities of students, valuable in meeting the needs of the competencies of future career, related with other subject areas, and important in the transfer of learning. In organizing or putting together the different learning contents, Palma 1992 suggested the following principle. So first, we have balance. Curriculum content should be fairly distributed in depth and breadth of the particular learning area or discipline. This will ensure that the level of area will not be overcrowded or less crowded. So the content curriculum's complexity and depth should be evenly distributed across the learning area or discipline. This will be in the level or the region and will prevent overcrowding or undercrowding. Next is the articulation. When each level of subject is smoothly connected to the next, glaring gaps and wasteful overlaps in the subject matter will be avoided. So each level of subject matter should flow naturally into the next with no noticeable gaps or unnecessary material overlaps. Next, we have sequence. The logical arrangements of subject matter. So this is the logical arrangement of subject matter, and it refers to the deepening and broadening of content as it is taken up at the higher level. Next is integration. So the horizontal connections are needed in subject areas that are similar so that learning will be related to one another. So horizon links are required in subject areas that are similar in order for learning to be linked. So this is what integration entails. Next is continuity. The constant repetition, review, and enforcement of learning. So Learning necessitates the continual application of newly acquired knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values in daily life. The term continuity refers to the ongoing repetition, revision, and reinforcement of learning.
Hi, I'm Katharina M. Corpus. I'll be with you from Component 3 to 4. In curriculum experiences, whatever method the teacher utilizes to implement the curriculum, there will be some guide for the selection and use, and here are some of them. 1. Teaching methods are means to achieve the end. Before teaching certain topics, we have learning objectives, and our teaching method is the way to achieve those learning objectives. 2. There is no single best teaching method. Its effectiveness will depend on the learning objectives, the learners, and the skills of the teacher. Yes, there is no best teaching method, and its effectiveness greatly depends on the skills of the teacher on how he delivers and facilitates the learning of the students. Third, teaching methods should stimulate the learner's desire to develop the cognitive, affective, psychomotor, social, and spiritual domain. Teachers must be skillful in implementing the teaching method. So, sa teaching method, it should encourage learners to actively participate in the activities wherein it develops their intellectual skills, psychomotor, their interests, and also social and spiritual domain. Fourth, in the choice of the teaching methods, learning styles of students should be considered. Students are diverse in so with their abilities. So it is really important to consider their learning styles in your teaching method. So you must have different activities that would challenge and can somehow develop their skills in this certain area, which can be beneficial to those students who are good already, but this can enhance also their skills. 5. Every method should lead to the development of the learning outcomes in the 3 domains, wherein cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Like what I've said, you have to have different activities that would challenge and can somehow develop the skills of your students. 6. Flexibility should be a consideration in the use of the teaching methods. Yes, teachers should be flexible in order to be effective. It allows teachers to respond to different learners' abilities, needs, and also their interests. Teaching strategies convert the written curriculum to instruction. Both the teacher and learners take actions to facilitate learning. The actions are based on planned objectives, the subject matter to be taken, and the support materials to be used. Component 4. Curriculum Evaluation. The context refers to the environment of the curriculum. The real situation where the curriculum is operating is its context. So the context is the environment of the curriculum. Input refers to the ingredients of the curriculum, which include the goals, instructional strategies, the learners, the teachers, the contents, and all the materials needed. So meaning to say that the input is what makes a curriculum. The process refers to the ways and means of how the curriculum has been implemented. Process is the steps or activities of how curriculum has been implemented. The product indicates if the curriculum accomplished its goals. It will determine to what extent the curriculum objectives has been achieved. So product indicates if the curriculum accomplished its goals. Now, regardless of the methods and materials, evaluation will utilize a suggested plan of action for the process of the curriculum evaluation is introduced. These are the steps. 1. Focus on particular component of the curriculum. Will it be the subject area, the grade level, the course, or the degree program? Specify the objectives of the evaluation. So in curriculum evaluation, you need to specify the objectives of the curriculum. 2. Collect or gather information. Information is made up of data needed regarding the object of the evaluation. 3. Organize the information. This step will require coding, organizing, storing, and retrieving data for interpretation. 4. Analyze information. An appropriate way of analyzing will be utilized. 5. Report the information. The result of evaluation should be reported to specific audiences. Reporting can be done formally in conferences with stakeholders or informally through roundtable discussions and conversations. 6. Recycle the information for continuous feedback, modification, and adjustments to be made. In summary, the components of the curriculum are distinct but are interrelated to each other in a curriculum design. All curricula to be effective must have elements of evaluation. Within the evaluation process, smaller and more specific activities are needed to determine the effectiveness of the curriculum.
I am Thalia May Bidagoy and I will be discussing about the teaching, learning process, and curriculum development. So, first is teaching as a process in the curriculum. So, good teaching is very difficult to agree upon. So, it goes with effective teaching, the different strategies to use in order to let our learners learn with the different values of life, the different lessons of to be tackled about that certain subject. So first is it creates a situation or selecting lifelike situations to enhance learning. So as a future educator, as a future teacher, we should let our students see what reality is. We need to integrate what life is really after they become professionals, after they go to college and study. So we need to know about selecting real life situations. Next is a process of dispensing knowledge to an empty vessel. So our students, our learners, is not an empty-handed when they go to school. They are from their homes, respective homes with their parents, with their siblings, and when they attend to classes, they bring the real experience, the real teacher, which is the experience they have, the values they have from their homes. And next is some view teaching as an organization of meaningful learning. So they view teaching as an organization where teachers are teaching students in different strategies, in different ways, just for the students to learn in a creative way. So next is teaching is showing, telling, giving instruction, or making someone understand in order to learn. So teaching rather is about giving instruction, telling them, showing them things in order for them to understand. Next is teacher becomes the decision maker in the teaching process. So decision maker. So teachers decides what to do, what strategies to use in our varsity learners, since we are in a classroom and we have diverse learners. They have their different capacity to learn. So we, as a future teacher, we are the decision maker in this part. We are the ones who will plan, who will decide on how to carry on the class. So with this, we have the teaching process, we have the plan, implement, and evaluate. And along with these three phases, we have the feedback and reflections. So first, for the planning phase, this includes decision about the needs of the learners. So we need to know what the learners need in order for them to learn. And next is to achieve goals and objectives to meet the needs. So we have to set goals, to set objectives, to the vision that we need in order for the students to meet their needs, in order for the teachers to to strategize. And next is the selection of the content to be taught. So selection of the content. So we future teachers should know what topic should we teach them. We should know the selection of the content in order for them to learn. So next is the motivation to carry out the goal. So in this part, so we have to motivate our students in order for them to learn. We have to motivate the students to enhance their learning. We have to cheer them up in order for their learning to be enhanced, to be skilled. And next is the strategies most fit to carry out the goal. So to strategize every step in order for them to learn, in order for us future teachers to let the students learn and to achieve the goals and objectives. And next is the evaluation process to measure the learning outcomes. So at the end of the learning, at the end of the lesson, at the end of the discussion, we should have the evaluation phase, which is to measure the learning's applied skills, applied learnings, their knowledge about the certain topic tackled in the discussion. So we have to evaluate in order for us to know what to do next, in order for us to know to let them improve their learning. So for implementation phase, it requires the teacher to implement what has been planned. So in this implementation phase, it is very understandable that to implement, to carry out what has been planned, the strategies, the goals, the objectives, we have to carry it out. We have to perform it in order for our learners to learn. So next is the evaluation phase. So a match of objectives with the learning outcomes will be made. So evaluation, this is to measure the learning of the students. We have to know in order for us to give feedbacks, in order for us to assess their knowledge and skills. Next, and with these three phases of teaching, a continuous process of feedback and reflection is made. A reflection for the students and a reflection for the teachers to what to do for the future discussion in order for the students to learn, and a feedback from the students and vice versa, a feedback from the teachers. So it is a process of feedbacking and reflection should be made. So next is a good teaching is, we will define what good teaching. So a good teaching is one that is well planned and where activities are interrelated with each other. So we will know that we are teaching good and we have that effectivity of teaching if the well planned activities are interrelated interconnected to each other, correlated, and it is about integration of different aspects. So, one that provides learning experiences or situations that will ensure understanding, application, and critical thinking. So, the learning experiences or situation that will ensure that the students learn, that the students can apply it in their life, and about their critical thinking to think if whether it is good or it is applicable or it is not. So based on the theories of learning. So one, where the learners is stimulated to think and reason. So a good teaching lets the students to stimulate, to let them think and reason about certain things. Next is to utilizes prior learning and its application to new situation. So in their prior knowledge, in their past knowledge, education and learning is not stagnant. So as time passes by, it um it develops, it enhances, we gain new knowledge every day. So prior learning and its application to new situations, they are able to use their prior knowledge to new situations they are in, to the present situations they are in. And next is governed by democratic principles. So this means that we are being equal to our students, the equality, the equal access of education. So next is it embeds a sound of evaluation process. So evaluation process should be smoothly performed without anything being unfair and biased. So next is the learning as a process in a curriculum. So this statement means that the end product of teaching is learning, and the quote is the to teach is to make someone to learn. So at the end of the day, we will always go back to the purpose of teaching, which is to make someone to learn, not just to learn about certain subject, certain topic, but also to learn in different aspects of life in reality. And it is very important to teach them the values, the reality of what world really is, and how they will be able to cope up with the different situations in their future life. So that would be the discussion about the learning as a process in a curriculum and the teaching as a process in the curriculum.
Continuation. By the way, I am Igendrin de la Cruz, and I will discuss the two principal types of learning in a broad sense. There are two principal types of learning, the behavioral and cognitive learning. When we say behavioral, it focuses on observable behavior, while cognitive, on the other hand, it is observable mental processes. So behavioral learning emphasizes observable behavior such as new skills, knowledge, or attitudes which can be demonstrated. These are observable and measurable. So behaviorists believe that learning is due to a change in behavior such as a result of experiences. So it focuses on observable behavior, which is learning by doing it. We cannot learn if we didn't commit or try our best. So let's move on to the theories of behavioral learning. First is Ivan Pavlov classical conditioning theory. Ivan Pavlov is known for his study in classical conditioning, which have been influential in understanding learning. Classical conditioning is learning in which a stimulus gains power to cause a response because it predicts another stimulus that already produces the response. In his famous experiment, he studied siya sa dog on how the dog will learn through observable behavior. So it is just an example of classical conditioning. Pavlov rang a bell and then gave some food. After repeating this pairing multiple times, the dog eventually treated the bell as a signal for food. So first conditioning, yung gihatagan og food ang dog and the dog respond and start to salivate. Then ikaduha iyang gitriyan og rang ang bell kung unsay response sa dog. Same ra ba Japon siya sa itong paghatag niyang food nga mo salivate ang dog. But wala ning respond ang dog pag rang niya sa bell. And then so iyan na pong girang ang bell and gadala po siya food and the dog responded. So, he noticed that once he rang the bell, the dog will respond since nakondisyon naman ang dog nga kada rang sa bell naadjud na siya food. And it is called conditioning if a certain thing repeated multiple times. So, another example sa classroom, every time nga mag-bring sa teacher o projector ang laptop, it is expected nga magpa-video present and or magpa-PowerPoint presentation ang teacher. So ingana na kondisyon naman ang students nga tagadala sa o projector ni teacher is magpa-video present siya. So another theory is the theory of Edward Thorndike's laws. According to this law, learning is achieved when individual is able to form associations between a particular stimulus and response. These associations are known as habits. So, law of readiness it implies the degree of preparedness and eagerness to learn. So, for example, when someone is ready to perform to do so, it is so satisfying. So, being ready at any time of every hour, every minute is very crucial in learning. Next is law of exercise. Things that are most often repeated are best remembered. So, for example, sa sayaw, nakay steps nga dili mo makatunan. So, imo siyang balik-balikon and once nga murag ma-remember na nimo ang steps, so ma-perfect na siya nimo and so it is called practice makes perfect. Next is law of effect. Based on the emotional reaction and motivation of the students, learning is strengthened with pleasant or satisfying feelings, while unpleasant feelings tend to otherwise. So next theory is the theory of B.F. Skinner's operant conditioning. Skinner believed that the best way to understand behavior is to look at the causes of an action and its consequences. We call it approach conditioning. I believe that every action of ours has its consequences, either it is negative or positive consequences. So Skinner assess of operant conditioning and teaching. Teachers find themselves punishing responses. So for example, when most of the students are in line appropriately and one or two are misbehaving, the teacher will punish the students who's misbehaving rather than praising the rest of the class for their appropriate behaviors. This example was just based on Skinner's assessment. Okay, so let's proceed to cognitive learning theories. Cognitive learning are concerned with human learning in which observable mental processes are used to learn and remember how information or acquire skills. It is also a broad learning theory that explains how humans' mind work while they learn. The theory of Jerome Berner's discovery learning states that the individual learns from his own discovery of the environment. So Berner discovered that students learn through his or her own discovery and students can construct their own knowledge from themselves. Now let's move on to another theory, which is David Ausubel's reception learning. Ausubel viewed learning as an active process, not simply responding to your environment. Learners seek to make sense of their surroundings by integrating new knowledge with that which they have already learned. So to him, learners need external motivation in order to learn. That's why in teacher's lesson plan there is motivation para ma-active ang minds sa students and And before mag-start ang class, importante jud nga naay motivations, and so that it will help the student nga makabalo kung unsa na nga lesson kabahin. Both theories believe that learners should be actively involved in their own learning and emphasize prior learning is important in order to learn new things. Next is Robert Gagne's event of learning in 8 interval event. First is motivation phase. The learner must be motivated to learn the expectations of reward. So for example, magpa-recitation ng teacher, then if kinsay maka-answer, maka-earn og points as a reward to their participation. With this, ma-active ilahang mind and maka-learn pod sila. Next is apprehending phase. The learner pays attention if learning has to take place. The next is acquisition phase. The learner transform information into meaningful learning. So while the learner is paying attention, the stage is set and the information presented. So the learner transform information into meaningful form. So next is retention phase. The newly acquired information must be transferred from the short-term to the long-term memory. This may take place by means of practice, elaboration, or rehearsal. So next is recall phase. Recall previous learned information. For example, asking questions about previous observations and experiences so that ma-recall nila or ma-refresh ilahang nakatunan sa past. Next is generalization phase. Transfer of information into new situation which it allows applications of the learned information in the context with which that is learned. So, i-connect nimo ang information sa new situation. And next is feedback phase. Students must receive feedback from their performance. The feedback from other learners observing the performance is helpful so that ma-improve pa nila kay nakabalo naman sila unsa ilahang dapat i-improve. So there are some general statements which describes learning. So learning does not take place in an empty vessel. Each learner is assumed to have prior learning and may be able to connect this to present learning. Next is learning is a social process where interactions with others and teachers are needed. So interaction is important in learning also. So learning is a result of individual experiences and self-activity. Learning is both observable and measurable. So muna siya ang katong nasa behavioral theory. Next is learning takes place when all the senses are utilized. Next is learning will be enhanced when the learner is stimulated, directed, guided, and feedback is immediately given. So each learner has his or her own learning styles. So that's why a teacher must know what are the different learning styles of the students. So as you can see from the phrase above, teaching and learning go together. How does teaching and learning connect to each other? So a teacher cannot claim if she or he has taught if the learners have not learned substantially. The teacher learning style should be with learner's learning style. So dapat ang connected ang teacher's teaching styles sa learner's learning styles. The most important is the learners being centered of teaching. So dapat ang students is the centered of teaching. The knowledge of the learners and his learning style should be considered. Next is, as learners become more complex individuals, the range of teaching should be also increased. Next is, different teaching styles with the support of simple, sophisticated teaching materials are necessary to good learning. Next is, teaching is the cause and learning is the effect. So next is, learning outcomes can be indicate teaching and performance. The quality of teaching reflects on the quality of learning. Next is, if teachers fail to learn, the greater factor of failure goes to the teacher. And lastly, the kind of learning is always attributed to the kind of teaching. So another phrase which is learning is teaching and teaching for learning. A teacher are the one who teach and shares their knowledge to their students, and with this, when you are explaining something to the class, you also learning. You also learn. So learning is a continuous process, and bisan og professional na ka, that's not enough because learning never ends.
Good day everyone, I am Desiree J. Esther and I am tasked to report about the some ways of doing teaching and learning under the concepts, purposes, and nature of curriculum in Module 1. So the methods of teaching here can be clustered according to the numbers of students being taught and take considerations what to apply due to a diverse learners. So teaching methods or strategies. So this one is the first one under doing teaching and learning. So let's first differentiate these two. So the term teaching method refers to the general principles, pedagogy, and management strategies used for classroom instruction. So we as a teacher, our choice of teaching depends on what fits you or your learners. So it involves our educational philosophy, our classroom demographic, the subject areas, and school mission statement. Moving on to teaching strategy. So this includes all aspects of contents, task analysis, teaching objectives, their capabilities or student skills, or their abilities and needs. So under this teaching strategy, this was classified under 3 groups: large, small, and individualized teaching groups. So we have here also listed the 3 things. So under large group, lecture, panel discussion, symposium, and team teaching. So in small group, we have here group discussion, seminar, workshop, demonstration, field visit, and of course tutorial. So the last one, individualized teaching group, we have self-study, counseling, project work, and lastly we have assignment. So move on to second ways of teaching or doing teaching and learning. Time or traditional time tested method. So this time-tested method or process has existed for a long time and is believed to work well. So under this, we have inductive and deductive method. Focus first to inductive method. So inductive method is teacher-centered approach in which in this method students put all their focus on the teacher. So we as a teacher, we talk and our students exclusively listen. So during making activities or during the activities, we have to make students work alone. So in here, collaboration is discouraged. So when education is teacher-centered, of course, the classroom remains orderly. So you can't be an effective teacher unless you're actively engaged in research, or students in here learn by working individually than by cooperating in teams. Move on to deductive method. So this one is opposite to inductive method. So this is student-centered approach. So in here, Student learning allows students to actively participate in their learning. So, in a student-centered classroom, the focus of activity is the student. So, this means that learners are encouraged to participate in a series of tasks, including speaking, listening, writing, and collaboration with their classmates or other students. So, move on to type study method. So, if we are to talk about type study method, this is considered an inductive procedure that examines one case only. We have here 6 steps to consider in this type study method. Of course, first, you have to select the topic. Second, you are to create an appreciation or motivation. Third one is statement of typical case or model. This is the flow of your selected topic. Fourth one is the study of details. So, what is inside their topic? Also, what are you going to do within this topic? The fifth one is comparison of details with the model. You have to compare the model you make in step 3 and the details you make in step 5. So, last, the sixth one is generalization. You have to summarize it all and direct to the point about the selected topic. So, first here, if we are to apply this one in teaching, so a type study method aims to study a typical case thoroughly and in detail so as to make the concept gathered as basis for comparison in studying similar cases. So as what I've mentioned earlier in the steps, we have there to compare the model you make and compare the details to the model. So another one aim is to organize into a coherent whole all necessary and related details. So we have there mentioned already the 6 steps. So in this one, it arouses keen interest of the students since the tendency to emphasize details makes the works concrete. So the topic here is valid and can save time and is very clear to comprehend and understand. An example is given. So if you are to study a flower, so one needs to study only one flower which has all the characteristics of most flowers. So in the flower, we can see stem, flower, petals, sepals, leaves. We have also the branch, the roots. So in type study method, it was mentioned earlier that we have only to focus one case so as for us to get one coherent and clear topic or to create a coherent and clear conclusion. So move on to laboratory method. Laboratory method here in doing teaching and learning, this teaching procedure dealing with the first-hand experiences. When we say first-hand experiences, these are what we experience in our lives. So it regards materials or facts obtained from investigating or experimentation. So these experiences are usually what we have experimented or what we have investigated or what we have observed in our lives, in ourselves, in the environment, the surroundings, and even the society. So laboratory teaching assumes that first-hand experience in observation and manipulation of the materials of science is superior to other methods of developing understanding and appreciation. So laboratory training is also frequently used to develop skills necessary for more advanced study or research. So not all, and there are methods also has steps, and also this laboratory method has also his or her, or has also its own steps. First step is introductory step. When we say introductory step, the first or introduction of your a topic of your things to study. Second is work period. When we say work period, is the duration of time. And lastly is culminating activities. This is the end of making the activity, or what is the outcome of you making the activity. Last or next one is question and answer method, or shall we say Socratic method. So this method, it is the purposeful activity that will remove a difficulty or perplexity through a process of reasoning. So let's first say or discuss to you what is Socratic method of teaching. So of course, from the name itself, Socratic, or so this comes from Socrates. So Socrates' theory that is more important to enable students to think for themselves than to merely fill their heads with right answers. Therefore, he regularly engaged his pupils in dialogues by responding to their questions with questions instead of answers. So you as a teacher, if your students ask you, you're not just give them directly. You are not to spoon feed them, because you as a teacher wants your students to learn, you have to let them develop their own critical thinking skills that involves reasoning. So this process encourages divergent thinking rather than convergent thinking. We have here considered also steps to follow. First step is recognition and statements of the problem. So this is also the same with the research, study, thesis, dissertation. Another one is statement, hypothesis. Third one is critical evaluation of suggested solution. You have to suggest solutions on how to solve the problem. And lastly is verification of accepted solution. You have to verify if the solution you make is accepted, or what do you call this one? Nahitabo in Bisaya. Alright? So last one is also you have to consider that this solution you make from the statements of the problem is reliable. Move on to project method. So this project method is very significant. Practical unit of activity of a problematic nature, planned and carried to completion by the student in a natural manner, and this involves the use of physical materials to complete the unit of experience. So in this method, a teacher is to facilitate a collaborative approach in which the students acquire and apply their knowledge and skills to define and solve realistic problems. It is only using a process of extended inquiry. So the students are to make projects following certain standards, parameters, and milestones clearly identified by the teacher or the instructor. We have here also steps to follow in project method. Of course, the first one is purposing. When we say purposing, what is your purpose by making that project or making that project? Second is planning. You have to plan on what is your project all about, or what are you going to do with that project, or what are the problems faced by that project, or how to solve that certain problem. Exercising. Of course, you have to exercise if your project is reliable or your project is really existable. And lastly, evaluating. When we say evaluating, you have to make sure that you are to test your project. Alright. With each step, the students assume more and more role. Why? Because they are able to treat environmental topics. Okay. Lecture method. Lecture method is it is more of exposition. So lecture method is regarded as the most comprehensively used pedagogical method within educational institutions at all levels. So this is, as a student, this is what we like most, lecture, because if we are facing, or if we are in the classroom and the teacher are to discuss or are to give us lectures, we are easily, or we are to directly think of or directly understand what is the topic all about. So in simple terms, this is the method in which the instructors are imparting information to the students. So in terms of following lesson plans and academic concepts within the classroom settings. So it's what mentioned earlier in lecture method, lesson plans here is present. So we have the steps here to consider. So in lesson plan, we have preparation, presentation, comparison, we have generalization, also we have application on how to apply this topic to the discussion, or serve as an assessment. So improve teaching practices. So here, improve teaching practices. Some easy yet consistent strategies for keeping track of your teaching, of course, as a teacher, are to annotate assignments, tests, and class plans on an ongoing basis. It's because we as a teacher, we have to focus ourselves and keep track to our students if they learn from our discussions or from the topic, and to assess them what topics or part of the lessons they don't understand, so as for them can give to them feedbacks on what to change or what to improve or what to develop more and more. Another one is, under improved teaching practices, is integrative technique or discovery approach. We have process approach, conceptual approach, mastery of learning, programmed instruction, e-learning, simulation case-based teaching, conceptual teaching, and cooperative learning. So these things under improved teaching practices are very familiar to us, since so as to apply these teaching practices in the near future or for our students. So this is also a training ground for us teachers in the classroom on what approach or what teaching practices is fit for our students and for us teachers. So another one is ways of learning. Of course, we have ways of learning. So here, ways of learning. First one is learning by trial and error. So you as a teacher, you have to applying this trial and error method. Why? It's because at first we don't know what is appropriate for our learners, because as learners or diverse or we have diverse learners or various learners, we have to apply trial and error. So until trial and error, we can create or we can see that this approach or this method or strategy is appropriate for our learners. So this trial and error method exhausts various responses and tentatively tried and some discarded until a solution is attained. Another one is learning by conditioning. When we say learning by condition, it is about reinforcing our students to learn or giving them prizes or encouraging them to learn or encouraging them to make that assignment, to make that activities for them to learn, and give them rewards afterwards. Another one is learning by insight. So learning by insight is uses reason, so especially to form conclusions, inferences, and or judgments in problems. Unlike learning by trial and error method, insight learning is solving problems. So this is not based on actual experiences, but on trials occurring mentally. Another one is learning by observation and imitation through modeling. So in observational learning, we learn by watching others and then imitate or modeling what they do or say. So the individuals performing the innate behavior are called models. So we as a teacher are the models. We are to act, then our students are to imitate what they do or say, or we do as teacher, they do as learner. So another one, this learning by observation and imitation does not end here. It also involves attention phase, reproduction phase, and motivational phase. So here, the highlight of this topic is teaching and learning in the curriculum. First, to discuss teaching. So teaching is based on a progressive and humanist education. So teaching is perceived as stimulating, directing, guiding the learner, and evaluating the learning outcomes of teaching. So teaching is also the process that enables the learner to learn on his own. Learning. When we say learning, it can be defined as the relatively permanent change in an individual's behavior that involves their knowledge, skill, and attitude that can occur at any time or place as a result of consciously. Curriculum refers to a course of study at school, university, and subjects making up a course. So curriculum is what is taught in schools. Instruction, how is curriculum is delivered, and learning is what knowledge or skills has been acquired. So these three are interlinked with each other in order for the learners to learn, in order for the teachers to keep track to their students' achievement or their students' on things what they did not learn or what they have learned. So with their knowledge, experiences, and competencies, we as a teacher are central to any curriculum development effort. Better teachers support better learning because we as a teacher, we as an educator, we as a mentor, we as a second parent are more knowledgeable about the practice of teaching and are responsible for introducing the curriculum in the classroom. So that ends my report in Module 1. Again, thank you for listening. Have a nice day. All is well and God bless. Once again, I am Desa Joy S. Deray, your reporter for today.